The NIL House Settlement was finally approved by Judge Claudia Wilkins, and this opens the door to a new era of college athletics, now allowing the kids to get paid up to 20% in revenue, and that will equate to $20 million. The student athletes will now be able to directly get paid for their contribution to the game. With the ever growing sports of college football, college basketball, college softball, we now will see the student athletes getting paid for their work. And I, for one, am all for this. This is one of a huge step, something that kind of has been backfired on that they've been working on for a while. It ends the wild, wild west of college athletics or college sports, period, and sometimes college football if we want to be specific in one of the major revenue driven sports. But this creates more parity against across the league, maybe, where now everyone will operate under a salary cap or a budget on how they have to dispense the money, and it has to be somewhat partially equal under Title IX. The reason why this is very cool for me is because HBCUs are starting to take a turn and opt into this model. So what this will do is shift towards a more equitable model where student athletes will get compensated for the contributions. It prevents future lawsuits from being established as a legal framework for athlete compensation. And this settlement has now allowed schools to pay using their NIL directly. I don't know if collectives will go away ultimately, or will they find ways around it to create other money driven revenues for those players. But this does seem to be a great step in the right direction. Reason why I like this again is because I said HBCUs are starting to take apart. The Southwestern Athletic Conference SWAC announced earlier in this month that in their spring meetings that they will be opting into the NIL settlement. So that's one entire conference that's going to opt in. Outside of that, there are other schools that have announced that they will be opting in. Morgan State being one of the first notable ones to say they were going to opt in. Maryland Eastern Shore, Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, and Hampton. Those schools would do it on their own individual accords, what they were allowed to do. The Power Four conferences were the ones that were automatically incited to do so. But back to the HBCU level. I think this is a real awesome thing they're going to do because they're pushing the boundaries forward. And it seems like HBCUs are starting to make athletics a priority just as much as academics, where for the most part, academics always came first, athletics are second. So now we can see athletic programs starting to be put their foot forward and wanting to make a lead the charge into the future of what their programs are going to look like. Now, with all these new players and new names that are coming into the coaching staffs, it allows these student athletes to get paid for their contributions almost as athletes, where they're not going to be stressed looking for where their next funds are going to come from. Morgan State Athletic Director Dina Freeman Patton on WMAR back in May said opting in was ultimately give us flexibility. This changes the game also on a recruiting level because if you're a coach that has this and that has chosen to opt in, it may be hard to have a selling point against a school that doesn't. You can make it a little bit easier on yourselves, and now we won't just see territorial recruiting. We can see recruiting from across the map where other HBCUs can establish pipelines. We know the notable HBCUs in terms of the SWAC, in terms of FAMU, Jackson State, that have been dominant for the last couple of years. The MEAC now has opportunities to have equal field. This ultimately brings a level of parity that I don't think a lot of people have thought about, but this is great. It moves college athletics into the right direction. Student athletes will start to get paid for their contribution, and ultimately, we'll see a new idea of what college athletics as a whole will look like. This now creates a salary cap for these schools. SWAC Commissioner Dr. Charles McClelland said this at the annual spring meetings. As we move forward into a new era of intercollegiate athletics, the Southwestern Athletic Conference remains steadfast in our commitment to provide our membership with the resources needed to positively impact the student athletes academically and athletically. That shows that they're caring about these student athletes instead of having the student athletes stressed. And I'm, for one, all a part of it. President David Wilson of Morgan State said, Morgan's decision to opt in into the House settlement reflects on our unwavering commitment to our student athlete success and our proactive approach to navigating the evolving landscape of collegiate athletics. He said that back in February of 2025. He also said this to continue on. With full support of our Board of Regents, we believe this decision is in the best interest of our institution, ensuring compliance, stability, and new opportunities for our student athletes moving forward. This is a great way to move forward. And I think this opens the door for HBCUs to kind of work their way into being power dominant conferences or power dominant schools as they were in the yesteryears. Especially on the FCS level, we could see this open up where they compete on bigger championship stages in terms of the FCS college football playoffs and even have more of an impact going into the NCAA tournaments. This opens the door for a lot of things, and I'm, for one, extremely happy to see HBCUs get on board with this. You guys let me know in the comments. Is this something new to you? How do you feel about it? Were this a long time coming for HBCUs and student athletes to get paid in general? How do you guys feel about it overall? Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next video.